Hi and welcome everyone to this tips and tricks video. My name is Toon Habraken from Hunchback Music, and today we're going to talk about trailer orchestration. So one thing which is very important for trailer music is to have a clean low end. A lot happening, and the dynamics are usually very high, and there are a lot of frequencies going around all over the place. So you want to have like a tight low end, and orchestration is a big factor in that. I have some voicings prepared here, and you can see how a tight low end can make or break your sound. So I have this voicing, and it's only brass. And if you look at the voicing, it's very clean. So there's an octave in below, and then a fifth, and then the root note again, and then the third. And I think this is a correct voicing. So it sounds okay, nothing wrong. But when we change the voicing, and we have like the root and then the fifth and then the root again, you can see this is a very low fifth. Normally a fifth interval is not is perfectly fine. But in this low register, it can be very troubling, and it makes sounds very muddy. And when there's a lot of things happening all over the place, you don't want the bass to sound very muddy. So I'll show you this sound. So if you really focus on the low two notes, you can hear it's not very stable. So always keep your low interval limit in mind. So which intervals in the low end sound good and which sound muddy. So I will show it for the last time. This is the correct one. And the unstable one. The same goes when you're using inversions. So if you change the bass note of a chord, this can be very tricky, because if you're not thinking correctly about this, then also the sound will get very unstable and muddy in the low end. So this is the correct. This is how I would do it, like the correct way. So just like the first chord we just talked about, also in this chord I would use octaves in the low end. So there is the low interval limit is respected. So it doesn't sound as stable as just a root chord, but for an inversion, this is a nice sound. When you don't have octaves in the low end, just like here, so you see the F. And above that is the D. That's like a sixth. So that's these are too close together for in this register. So if I play this, it's not very stable. So always keep your low interval limit in mind. I think that's one of the most important things when creating like a third act, where everything is the dynamics are high and everything is very aggressive, or a lot of tension, and there's a lot of stuff happening: risers, hits, downers, melody, string sounds, all that kind of stuff. You don't want to have like distractions in your voicings. So always try to make it as clean as possible, especially in the low end. When the dynamics are low, it's another story, because when the dynamics are low, the rules change a little bit. So I have a voicing of this chord, and I use strings and brass for this. There's a fifth in the low register, which is too low, I think. So let's check it out. Yeah, so these two together, they don't sound really tight and stable. But now I have this exactly the same voicing, but I have low dynamics, and then everything changes. Check it out. So when the dynamics are low, you can play more with these intervals in the low end. So the low interval rules really apply on loud dynamics and not so much on low dynamics. Now we're going to talk about sub-bass, adding some sub-bass to your orchestrations. Trailer music is oftentimes larger than live, so you don't have the rules of an orchestra. You can have add some synthesizers to fill up the sound, to add more frequencies to your trailer track. In this song, I used a sub-bass, and it's just like a simple sine wave. And it adds really a lot without really noticing it. It's really giving you a lot of low end power. So this is only the string stem of this track. And now I'm gonna add the sub bass. So this is the sound, soloed. And when I play it with the strings, so when I'm muted, you immediately hear that something is missing. So it adds a lot without really changing up the sound or without really noticing it. It's really adding a great bass foundation to the track. So if I do all the stems together, and I will just mute and unmute the sub bass so you can hear the difference. So I will play all the stems together, and I will just mute and unmute the sub bass so you can really hear the difference and what it's adding to the track. So when you're muting the sub bass, it's like the floor is missing all of a sudden. So it really adds a lot, and it's very subtle, but I think it's very important to use it in your orchestrations. Also for other music, but especially for trailer orchestration. And lastly, I want to talk about other ways to layer your orchestration with synths. Now we're not using the sub bass, but I'm using synths to layer my horn sound. So most of the times the horns play the melody, and it's always good to layer that with a synthesizer which is playing the exact same notes, but give the sound a little push to make it more like a larger than life feeling. So this is how that sounds. It's on its own, it's not really a nice sound, but when layered with the brass, it gives like a push. It's in more frequencies, more volume, so it's really adding a lot. So this is the sound solo. So it's not really a nice sound on its own, but when played with the rest of the brass. So you hear the frequencies added when I turn the stem on. So it's and especially when you listen it with all the stems together, it gives it that extra push which is needed to highlight the melody. So it's very, very subtle, but it's just a little push that's needed to give the melody some more energy towards the ending, which is always a very important thing to keep growing, to keep adding stuff, and this is one way to do it. Another way is to add some pads. I'm using some synth pads to fill up the sound, to fill up the frequencies which are missing when only the orchestra plays. So this is the sound on its own. And it's doing exactly the same as the choir. And when I play it with the whole track, you really see what's missing when I'm muting it. So it's filling up some frequencies which are missing in the rest of the orchestra, especially in the ending. You can hear this. So it's filling up the frequency spectrum, which is needed at most of the times in the part 3 act. And lastly, I want to talk about layering the short strings, staccato strings. And this is a really ugly sound on its own. It doesn't sound very nice. So it's really like type of a Game Boy-like sound, almost 8-bit. And also when I play it with the strings, it's not that the sound on its own is not very nice. But the attack of the synthesizers is what I was looking for. So when I put it into context and when you listen to the whole thing, the attack of the notes are highlighting the string sound. So that was an important factor to use this sound. So here it is. If I listen to this part, you can hear when I mute it, you can hear the attack of the string sound disappear. So that's the function of this sound, is to highlight the attacks. You can hear it very clearly here. So all these things are very subtle, but I think they add a lot, clearing up the sound and adding some frequencies or stuff like that to really make your trailer track larger than life. So only the orchestra can sound very big on its own. It just gives this little push to create a more larger than life feel. So these were my tips and tricks for a trailer orchestration. I hope you learned something and you can use it in your own work. Thanks for watching. Till the next one. Bye-bye.
Hey there, I appreciate you watching the video. If you like this one, check out this video or that video. And if you want to support the channel, make sure to click on top of my head on the logo and subscribe to the channel.